So to get point 12, we need to measure from point 6, 3.5 centimeters. So place your ruler from point 6 inwards, and that will give us 3.5 centimeters. And this point is point 12, this point. So to get point 13, we are going to draw from point 12 upwards 3.5 centimeters as well. And this point is point 13. So we are going to join point 13 to point 0 with a solid straight line, or with a solid line, because that solid line is going to indicate that we are drafting the back part of our block. So to get point 14 is the half measurement between 4 and 5. So what we need to do is to get the measurement between point 4 and 5, divide that by 2, and that will give us 15.1 centimeter. So we're going to place our ruler on point 4, drawing a point upwards, and that will give us point 14. So remember, the measurement that we need is 15.1. Again, how we got 15.1 is the measurement between point 4 and 5, divide that by 2, and you're going to get 15.1. And that is how we got point 14. So we're going to mark that as point 14. In order for us to get point 15, we need to measure the distance between 4 and 8. So that is the distance between point 4 and point 8, and that will give us 7 centimeters. And 7 centimeters. Once we have 7 centimeters, we are going to take away 0.5 from that measurement, and that will give us 6.5 centimeters. We're going to place our ruler from point 8. We're going to measure 6.5. Drawing a straight line. 6.5. And that new measurement is going to be, or that new point rather, is going to be point 15. For point 16, we are just going to place our ruler, measuring 1 centimeter from point 15 downwards, and that will give us point 16. So place your ruler from point 15, and that will give us point 16. I'm going to write it here. Point 16. Like we did before, we are going to use a curved line joining 13 to 14 to 16. So we're just going to use a solid curved line joining all points together. And so to give us that dip around the crotch area, we need to measure 5.5 centimeters from point 4, like we did before, on an angle from point 4, 5.5 centimeters upwards. So we're going to place our ruler on point 4. Following this line that we drew in earlier, we are going to place our ruler on point 4, measuring 5.5 centimeters upwards. And once that is drawn in, we are going to connect point 13, 14, and it's going to give us a dip into around this area, and we're taking it straight to point 16. Using a solid line, I am going to get my pattern master. First of all, I am going to join point 13 and 14 like so. Then from that point we are going to draw a curved line meeting point 16. So it's going to give us, so first of all we need to draw a curved line connecting 14 to 8. For point 17, we need to measure 2 centimeters from point 9. So that's 9 to 17. That will give us 2 centimeters. So we're going to mark in 2 centimeters. Place your ruler on point 9 and measure outwards. And this new point is going to be point 17. So once that is drawn in, we are going to get point 18 by measuring 3 centimeters from point 11. So place your ruler here, 3 centimeters, and the new point will give you point 18. So we're going to join 17 to 18 with a straight line. Not with a straight line, but we're going to join point 17. It will give us a slant line. So now we have joined point 17 to 18. Next we need to join point 18 to 16, again with a curved line. Point 17, 18 joins together with a line. We are going to connect from point 16 to 18 with a curved line. So like we did before, if you don't have a curved ruler, you can use your pencil to draw a free line connecting it. But like I said before, we need a curved line from point 16. So once you're okay with that line, you can use your ruler, your pattern master, to draw in a smoother line. So now one piece trouser block, men's trouser block, is ready. But what we need to do next is to make sure we trace this out. And what we need to bear in mind is that all the measurement that we use, our seam allowance is already included in this measurement. So once you trace it out, you don't need to add in seam allowance. The only area you need to add your seam allowance is the waist and the hemline. Other than that, your seam allowance is already included in our measurement. So the next thing we need to do is to trace this out, giving us, it's kind of, we're spreading it out, like opening it up like that, and it's going to give us a one piece kind of pattern. So I'm going to show you what to do in order for you to get that. So we are going to trace off this block, and I'm going to show you how. So what you need to do is to get yourself a fresh sheet of paper. Make sure it's wide enough for the front and the back pattern and long enough for the length of your trouser. So once you have that, you're going to place it on top of the previously drafted pattern. So once we have that, we are going to first of all trace the back pattern piece. So once you draft make sure you draw all the solid outer line that is for our back pattern piece. You trace that first. Don't trace the front yet. I'm going to show you what you're going to do for the front. So get in your tracing wheel. we're going to trace around the back pattern piece. Once that is done, we have finished tracing the back pattern piece. We're just going to label this as the back. And next we are going to trace the front pattern piece. So once that is done, for you to get the one piece pattern shape, we need to flip over our pattern paper. So this is the right side, this is the side that we just drew our back piece of our pattern. So we're going to flip this over like so. And we are going to use our tracing wheel. So once you flip that over, make sure the side line, which is, if you can see, the side line of your back pattern piece is touching the side line of your drafted pattern piece, which is underneath. Make sure you align both lines. Make sure it's on a straight line. The back pattern piece that we have just traced is on the same line as our drafted pattern piece underneath this paper. So make sure you have them on a straight line. So you can place your pattern weight on top of your pattern paper in order for it not to move. So once we have that, we are going to use our tracing wheel to trace out our front pattern piece. And remember, the front pattern piece is the dotted lines, as you can see here. So we're going to trace all these dotted lines, which is our front pattern piece, using our tracing wheel. So get your tracing wheel and trace just the front part of your pattern. So now we have traced our pattern piece, our front pattern piece, using our tracing wheel, and we are going to again flip over our pattern paper. So as you can see, because we use our tracing wheel, you can see the tracing wheel piercing through our pattern paper. So you can see that. That's why we are using our tracing wheel. And now, once you flip this over, then you turn it around, then you get your front pattern piece. So using our pencil, we are going to go over the traced lines. So now you can see we have used our pencil to give us that visible line for our front pattern piece. Then I am going to go ahead using my ruler to smoothen all the lines, and we now have our front pattern piece and our back pattern piece. So I'm just going to go over this with my marker so you can see it. So now we have our one-piece men's trouser pattern block ready. So what we need to do is to label this, and don't forget, the only place you need to add your seam allowance is the waistline and the hem line. I have done is to add in 1 centimeter to the waistline and 2 centimeter for the hemline. The reason why I had to use 2 centimeters for me to turn in the hemline. And don't forget to label your pattern piece. So this is the front and that's the back, but it's one piece, so you can cut it in one piece. And this is the side seam. I'm just going to write that. But if you are going to cut this out on your fabric, you are going to cut it as one piece. You're not going to separate both pieces. It's just going to be cut out as one piece, and that is why it's called one piece. So you can use this for your pajama trouser, your joggers, any loose fit kind of look that you're going for. This is the pattern you need for that. Thank you so much for joining in, and if you have not yet subscribed, please do so, and don't forget to comment down below on what next you want us to feature on our YouTube channel. And thank you once again for joining in, and I'll see you next time on our next tutorial. Bye for now.